thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Gabrielle Viome. You can call me Gabby. I'm an assistant director of admission here at Skidmore College, and I am so excited to welcome you to our Creative Thought Work series. The series aims to amplify Skidmore outcomes through monthly themed panels that reach a large audience of prospective students across the country and around the world. Our session today is titled Creative Thought Works, Unlocking Opportunities with Internships and Post-Grad Experiences. So I'm going to ask our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves before we begin our moderated discussion, which will be recorded and available on the admissions website. Afterwards, we'll move to breakout rooms where panelists will be available for questions submitted through the chat feature. All right. So with that, panelists, please share your name, your graduation year, if applicable, and your professional title. We'll go alphabetically by first name, and we will start with Alex.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I'm really excited to be here. And I graduated relatively recently, so I graduated in 2022. I did math and physics at Skidmore, and now I am a PhD student at Dartmouth College studying quantum computing, and I'm the founding software engineer at a tech startup that's spinning out of Dartmouth, and we're building AI-powered microscopes for pathologists.
So cool. Thank you, Alex. I'm going to go to Jessica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Alexander. I graduated from Skidmore in 2014, so a while ago now, but it feels like I was just in this position yesterday. I was a business major at Skidmore. I also participated in the London First Year Experience program. And now I work at the University of Southern California, actually. I work for the Masters of Science in Applied Psychology program, where I do advising and a little bit of everything related to the program. I'm also currently pursuing a Master's of Education from USC.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm going to turn it over to Jillian.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jillian Shapiro. I graduated in 2017. I was doing the math today and I was like, okay, I haven't hit 10 years yet. Since I'm from Long Island originally, so New York, Skidmore is pretty close to home, and I loved that. I've since lived in Florida and lived in Georgia and done jobs I didn't expect. And I am now I went to University of Miami and I got my MBA as well as a master's in sustainable business. Great programs, always learning. That's me, always continuing to learn and go to school. I am now a sustainability associate at CRH. We're in building materials and infrastructure, and I do corporate sustainability strategy there and work very closely with enterprise strategy as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then finally, I have two of my lovely colleagues joining us this evening from the Career Development Center. Nicole, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, thanks, Gabrielle. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here. My name is Nicole Todd, and I am the Assistant Director of Employer Relations at our Career Development Center. I've been with the Skidmore Career Development Center for just over 5 years now. And another part of my role, in addition to career advising, is managing our post-grad outcomes and first destination survey.
Beautiful. Thank you. And Shannon.
Hello, everybody. I'm Shannon Rodriguez. I'm the Executive Director of the Career Development Center. Looking forward to talking with you.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for those introductions. So we're going to start with our moderated discussion and ask you all some questions. So at Skidmore, we believe that creative thought matters. That is our motto. It informs everything we do here and is a huge distinction of Skidmore. We created this series to help prospective students and their families understand this difference. For our alums, how did creative thought matters influence your experience at Skidmore, and how did it influence and prepare you for what you're doing currently? And then for Shannon and Nicole, kind of a spin on that question, how do you apply creative thought matters in the work that you do in the Career Development Center with our current students? Does anyone want to tackle that first?
I can go ahead and kick it off.
Go for it.
So, I started in the London freshman program. So my first semester of college, I went to London with, I believe, about 40 other Skidmore freshmen, and we had 2 Skidmore faculty members go along with us. I'm from a suburb of the Los Angeles area, so going to Skidmore was far and going to London was even farther. When I was in London, I took classes related to theater, art and architecture, just understanding British culture. So I think that kind of set the stage for how my time in Skidmore would play out, just being curious about everything and being willing to learn in all different contexts. And I think that followed me back to Skidmore, especially with the liberal arts education and having to take classes in all different areas. I was a business major, but I definitely was not confined to that area or that way of thinking. I took a Beatles class. I took intro to dance class. I was also involved in the writing team and part of the Skidmore Saratoga Consulting Partnership. So doing consulting with local businesses. And I think the biggest takeaway is just using your time in college to learn about yourself as much as you're learning about the content as well. That the learning really comes from all different areas. And I think that's something that Skidmore does a really good job of encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. I oversee the applications for the London program, and it truly is just such a unique experience and definitely something that I recommend looking into if you're a prospective student. Anyone want to go next?
I can jump in. I thought I was going to be fighting Alex. I could see him smiling like I was too. I mean, we're all just like nerdy old Skidmore, but I thought I was going to be competing for the answer on this. I can remember so clearly the first sticker I got for my water bottle. It was black with CTM on it. Oh, maybe it's not that clear. I want to say like red, yellow, orange for the colors. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was, maybe it's cheesy, but it was such a culture at Skidmore. And we said CTM. It brought people together. It allows you to start conversations that you wouldn't otherwise start. It's just really your natural reaction, and everyone's on the same page. And it is the greatest thing. I'm so glad it's still part of Skidmore because it is one of the greatest parts of Skidmore. And it shapes who you are and who you're, it just shapes the whole experience. It's fantastic. But then as far as today, I would say I'm still the what that brought out in me at Skidmore and the way I was able to learn about myself is something also just that I was thinking. Learn about myself, learn about my classes, learn about my professors and my peers. Just that frame of thought is something that I'm still being rewarded for at work today. It's something that my manager, it's when I get feedback at work, it comes up all the time, that creativity, that willingness to respond differently. It's made a huge difference in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Alex, did you want to hop in?
Yeah, absolutely. I really love this question because I really think that creativity and creative thought matters is what sets Skidmore apart. And for me, creativity really means identifying and combining connections between different topics, different people, and different perspectives. So just a little bit more background on my process through Skidmore. I did something called the dual degree program. So I spent 3 years at Skidmore College and 2 years at Dartmouth College. At Skidmore, I did math and physics at like the liberal arts, and at Dartmouth, I took engineering courses. So my experience through Skidmore allowed me to have an amazing and wide variety of different perspectives, academic and social challenges to overcome, and I got to weave liberal arts with engineering. And at Dartmouth and after Dartmouth, the dual degrees really, really stand out. And the people that I've met that have gone to liberal arts college and have had that background really stand out in the workforce. But back to Skidmore, one of my favorite things when I was taking classes was there were like very few guardrails. So there were still like there was some guidance, there were some requirements, but what I liked so much is that I was able to take whatever I was interested in and was also encouraged to take things that I wasn't interested in. So for example, like I was able to take like a computer science course that wasn't normally in my major, but also I was encouraged to take courses that I would have never imagined going into, especially with like my tech and science background. I took a class called Materials of Medieval Art, and it's like learning about all the different substances and materials and time periods of the medieval era and what the art looked like based on whether they used gold or ivory or copper. And what was so cool, and this is so Skidmore, but in that class, there was like a wide variety of people from different majors. and it was a dialogue between the class and the professor. So there was a like a chemical engineering or a chemistry student in the class who talked about how you could use like tracing back the parchment from pigs to like track where nomadic people had gone to. There was a structural engineering student in the class that was talking about how, or maybe it was a physics student that was talking about how like the way that they designed arches was like optimal for force reduction. There was like a math major in the class that was talking about stuff, and there were art history majors in the class that were sharing their perspectives. So Skidmore is just a melting pot of different ideas and disciplines. And what that really does is it gives you a unique perspective, which allows you to go far in an uncertain world. And that's sort of where I am today. I feel like anybody who is fresh out of college is entering a very, very uncertain world, and it can be pretty scary. But I think Skidmore has given me the confidence and the courage to stand up and face uncertainty. And I'm doing a PhD. I don't know if it's going to work out. I'm starting a startup. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I know that I've been able to make strides in these areas because of my creativity and because of bringing all these different ideas together. And so I'm at least going to try, and I think I've got the best shot that I could possibly get from my time at Skidmore.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, and then I guess Nicole and Shannon, do you want to hop in?
Yeah, I'd be happy to jump in. Over in the Career Development Center, of course, we talk to students a lot about where they might be headed and starting to think through how they can test the waters. And a great way to start that conversation is to talk to them about the ways in which they might like to make an impact, right? To leverage that creativity into a variety of fields. There's so many different opportunities there. And one of the ways that students can get started is actually right here on campus, right? They can become a leader of a club. They can take part in the public policy writing contests. They can be an intern at the Tang. They can do research. They could become a member of the SGA, right? And so there's so many different opportunities for students to explore the ways in which they'd like to make an impact and the causes that are close to their heart, um, that they can take advantage of. And it helps them as they go through those experiences to then come back to us and articulate, oh, well, actually, I loved this. This was okay. I want to build on that and try this now. And that's a great way for us to be able to move that conversation forward and help students figure out what they might like to try next.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Nicole, did you want to add?
Think I'll just tag on with Shannon. When in the creative mindset, I think that's one of the things that really sets us apart with our employer partners too. So when we're helping students to explore careers, we're helping them to connect some of the unique experiences that they're cultivating on campus and through their college journey as they're exploring those careers, helping them to learn how to tell their stories and think outside the box so that by the time they leave, they're able to really confidently pursue who they are, and their outcome would reflect who they are as a person. So that is really something that I think sets our students apart.
And if you don't mind that I jump in,
Yeah, please.
I hear what you're saying, and I could say on the corporate level, I work for a really big holding company, and when you talk about partnerships, we see that the same. Our strategic partnerships and our solutions for our vision is reinventing the way the world is built for a better world, and it shows. It comes through in partnerships. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much. Yeah, so I mean, going into my next question, the admissions team gets a lot of questions about how Skidmore prepares students for strong outcomes after Skidmore, and I'm sure Shannon and Nicole, you get that question a lot as well. But for our alums, what kind of tools did Skidmore equip you with that have allowed you to be successful in your life after college? And then I guess this could also be a good time for Shannon and Nicole to kind of explain some of the things that you do in the Career Development Center and what tools you provide. Does anyone want to start us off?
I'm happy to start again.
Yeah.
Skidmore, you have such an advantage being part of a smaller school and close-knit community. your classes that you're in, there's going to be a few classes. Like I remember I took intro to oceanography that had like 80 people. You of course have smaller labs, but a lot of the classes once you're within a major are quite small, 20 to 30 people. Your faculty are getting to know you. So I think having that experience in the classroom really sets you up for success out in the work world. You're not an anonymous student sitting there. You're expected to engage. You're taught how to ask good questions. I think that's a skill that follows you everywhere you go in your life, whether it's career or other areas. I think the other big thing is how to present. And something I really took away from Skidmore is how to communicate the most important information depending on who your audience is and if you're working with different stakeholders. This is something I learned in class. It's also something I learned in the consulting partnership I was part of, that regardless of how many years you spent in the workforce and who your partners are or your clients are, Skidmore kind of gave me those tools I needed to feel confident going into different scenarios and to be able to express the most, again, like the most important data to whomever that audience was. I think networking was also a big piece of it. I remember, I think it was maybe my junior or senior year, going to a networking event during Parents Weekend, actually. So they had a lot of parents on campus already. So they asked them to volunteer their time to share a little bit about their career. I think it was on the upstairs part of the dining hall. And I remember going around and talking to different parents and hearing about their experiences depending on where they were working. And I thought that was a really nice way to get into networking, kind of take that first step in pitching yourself in a very comfortable and supportive environment. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I think the other thing, and I think Jillian mentioned this too, talking about like the desire to keep learning, that's something that's really followed me from Skidmore too, to really kind of leave no stone unturned and pursue learning just because you're passionate about that. And I think that also is something that is clear when you're in the workplace too, when you're picking up new skills or when you're interfacing with people and you can show that you're genuinely interested in what they have to say and really listening well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, I can go next. Jessica, I really like your answer. I think a lot of that stuff is what I wanted to touch on as well, both from like a business and like a science perspective. Definitely Skidmore, the number one skill, like skill that I learned, skill was 100% communicating my ideas, both in a scientific context. So how do you communicate a complex idea simply? So sort of like a teaching kind of thing. And also how to communicate and get people excited about what you're working on. Because when you go to Skidmore, one thing that you'll definitely notice is people are excited. People are passionate. They're there to learn. They're happy where they are. Like you walk into a Skidmore classroom and people are like, they can't contain themselves. They're asking the teacher questions because the energy is just kind of electric in the classroom and people are excited and passionate. And that goes into teaching and communicating because you're not just communicating the idea yourself or itself, you're communicating why somebody else should be excited about the idea. And spending 4 years in an environment where everybody was excited about their ideas and talking about it in a way that not only made sense, but got me also hyped for it has worked wonders for both when I have to go and explain research to somebody because I am looking to get a grant, or when I'm talking to an investor and I'm not just trying to explain the business model, I'm also trying to get them as excited to be on board as I am. So I just think excitement, passion, communication, these are things that will drive you for miles. And so I guess some specific things at Skidmore that helped me with that. In the physics department, we had something called physics seminar where we would present research and present different papers each week. And so that gave me multiple years of just presenting practice and also like connections with other people. And I also did peer academic coaching. I think Skidmore has a really good peer support system and tutoring system. There's no TAs for each class. It's more like there's a group of peer tutors for each subject, and they host different help sessions throughout the week, which was great to be a tutor for because you're not just doing it for a single class. You have to like sort of know you need to know your major pretty well. And through that those years of teaching and doing physics seminar, I was able to give lectures at Dartmouth College as like a guest lecturer, bringing that same excitement, passion, and that ability to communicate ideas to the classroom that I learned at Skidmore. And the other main central pillar that I think has been touched on as well is people, the alumni network, friends, and professors. Like professors at like to the moon. Um I have such a close connection with so many of the professors that I had at Skidmore because the classes are small and because every Skidmore student has something really unique to offer. And so the professors know that. You're not just another drop in the bucket, you're a Skidmore student. So you've got something special that you're bringing, and they know that. And I've had a lot of connection with my professors multiple years after I've graduated, both for professional opportunities and also just catching up. I think I sent my math mentor like an update with the video of the lecture that I did at Dartmouth, and asked for her feedback and was like, hey, I really liked learning from you. What do you think of this that I adopted from your teaching style, and how can I make it better going forward? So yeah, and also for a career, like the alumni network, I got my first internship through a friend at Skidmore. So take advantage of the excited people that you got there, because that's what Skidmore really has to offer.
Absolutely. And I would totally echo the professor piece as well. Since, we're a pretty small school, very small class sizes, you're really able to build those relationships with your professors, which can also lead to some nice opportunities down the line as well. But yeah, Jillian, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, how are we doing on time? Do you want me to be brief?
Totally up to you. You're good.
I'll be kind of brief though, but the professors are, I mean, it sounds like we can't say it enough. They are, whether they are your academic advisor or not, they are happy to chat about their subject or not, and really just any professor is happy to help anyone learn where they're headed, even if they don't know where they're headed yet. They're in this environment where they want to help you understand their subject and how another subject kind of is compatible with your subject, and there's no end to the kind of things that you can talk about. I majored in business and sociology, and I majored in sociology because I thought that the professors were really cool. And they were, and I learned so much, and I loved both of my majors. By the end of it, when I was talking, I was like, I kind of feel like I ended up with this organizational behavior international studies focus by the time I took all these classes. And it was just purely because the professors were a joy to talk to, and I kept meeting them and reading the class titles, and I was like, I need to take that class and I need to take that class. And when you're interested and passionate and the conversation never ends and your learning is allowed to bleed between departments and between conversations, then there's really just no end of the education that you can build for yourself, and it becomes such a unique experience that just is reflective of your creativity and who you are on campus. So I'd say professors, like, there you go, there's a tool. But then going back to classes a little bit, I'm not sure if it's still called MB 107 or if it's oh my God, take it, just take it. You might not like in the beginning, you'll be really confused. It's the greatest thing. Just talks about learning, being able to talk with stakeholders. You not only learn how to talk to stakeholders, you get questions from stakeholders in your first year of college. You hear from executives. You are prepped to teach them things that you just don't even really know what you're talking about on day one. And it's real. Like, I think about MB107 all the time. I tell people about it all the time. It doesn't go away. It comes up in job interviews. It is such an unbelievable class. Doesn't matter what your major is. Never see the business department again if that's your way, but that class is truly something special. Another one in the business department that stands out to me, business law. When I was there were two of them. I did not do that well in business law. Maybe I shouldn't admit that, but grade wise did not do that well. I learned so much. I loved it. I couldn't get enough. I loved the readings. I liked the assignments. My grades maybe weren't the greatest thing in the world, but I took the second one, and the professor was like, are you sure? And I was like, I'm sure. I love the content. Get, like, the grade is the grade, and I love the content. And I took the second one, and again, the grade is the grade. I love the content. And in my role today, I do corporate sustainability strategy, but very high level corporate partnerships. It's all, the umbrella all comes together. I recently did a webinar with our legal and compliance team the foundations that I had from taking those courses were really big, and being able to create a really fantastic event that, going back to people, we had 500 people dialing in and learning to that, and just having a foundation in the subject. I wasn't on the call. I'm not the expert. I'm never going to be a lawyer, surprise, but I learned something and I've been able to apply it. I work very closely with policy teams and government relations. I learned what I needed to learn, and that's helping me succeed today. And the real takeaway is I was allowed to do it. The professor supported me and allowed me to learn, and I will always be appreciative of Skidmore for being that kind of place.
Yeah, and Jillian, I love that you brought up MB 107. That is definitely, I would say, our most popular intro class that we have on campus. I actually took it myself too, and I was an English and music double major. So I think that says a lot. But thank you. And Nicole and Shannon, I would love for you both to kind of just do an overview of the Career Development Center, kind of just explain your roles and how you help our students.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate enough to have been with Skidmore now for 14 years. It might even be closer to 15. And the past four, I've been the director of our wonderful team. Um, and I do want to just briefly touch on some of the ways that we work with first year students in particular, because I think that's really important when you're just getting started. Career development can be a little bit of an intimidating topic, right? And so we try to make it easy and approachable as much as we can, right? So for our first years in September, we bring an ice cream truck to campus. And it's always this beautiful fall day out in the green. Students can come out and grab an ice cream. And it's Martha's ice cream, if anyone's familiar. It's these really big, thick ice cream sandwiches. And in exchange, we ask them to just share a little bit about their career interests in their Handshake profiles. Handshake is our job and internship board. And when they update their career interests in their Handshake profile, then that system will start to curate opportunities for them. So they can start to browse and be aware of what's out there and what's available and start to get an understanding of some of the timelines that exist as well. So that's September. The event Jessica mentioned, Career Jam, our big networking event, happens in October. And as Jessica shared, a lot of parents, families, alumni, community members. When it comes to networking, again, we know it gets a little intimidating, but who easier to start with than maybe the parent of one of your friends, right? And then we move into November, where we have our internship expo. That is held in Case in our student center, and this is where our upper class students share a little bit about their summer experiences, right? So students get to get the inside scoop on some different organizations where Skidmore students commonly intern. They get to ask them questions, and it's all very casual. You just drop by. You don't have to prepare to attend these kinds of events, right? It's just networking and getting to know people, getting connected, and having some casual conversations. But I'll pass it to Nicole. I don't know if you want to share a few words about any of our other resources, like what I can do with this major or Focus 2, or other thoughts you might have.
Sure, we have so many resources that can help our students along the way. Focus 2 and what can I do with this major specifically help them just in exploring careers, learning more about themselves and their skills and their work-life values. And then we can help them to just think about the major that they choose and what occupations might come out of that major. I think in terms of post-grad outcomes in my role, um, one of the things that we do to really help them prepare is we're just really intentional about building those alumni and employer partnerships, connecting with them with people who really want to support our students. And those relationships end up creating real opportunities for them. So it just helps them. They have so many opportunities throughout the year to connect, whether it be through coffee chats with alumni, employer info sessions. We have career fairs and treks, site visits to employer sites throughout their journey too. So all of those ways can help them to create opportunities to network, learn more, and explore what they might want to do in the future.
Awesome. Thank you all so much to Jillian, Jessica, Alex, just for sharing your experiences as alums. And again, of course, to Shannon and Nicole for sharing your expertise just working in the Career Development Center and with our students and our alums. So thank you all so much again.